So I've been drawing people for well over 20 years in public places, and one thing I could tell you is that none of them thought it was creepy. They always were either excited or flattered or amused that someone was actually drawing a picture that actually looked like them. In this video, I'm going to take you on a journey where you actually get to see me at a cafe draw people who didn't know that I was drawing them at the time that I filmed the video, but then after I filmed the video, I end up telling them that I drew them and they gave me permission to use it for the video. Before we get started, I want to let you know that I'm now taking on a few coaching clients. If you're interested in taking your drawing skills from where they are now to where you would like them to be really fast, click the link in the description to get signed up. I'll also have an online course so you can kind of go at your own pace and watch the instructional videos. With that said, let's jump in. So in this particular drawing session, I sat in the back corner of the cafe. In this situation, it was actually easier to draw the people because they were further away from me and they had no idea that I was drawing them. So first I did the drawing of the people and I recorded myself drawing. But then I went over to them and introduced myself and explained, hey, I'm creating a YouTube video and I wanted to know if it's okay to show you in my video. I'm just going to do a couple seconds of film and that will be in the video. And they said it was cool. You know, they saw the drawing. They were pretty happy with it. I probably should have took a picture with them just to show you, but you know, I didn't get to that part. I actually ended up giving the completed signed pictures to them. I usually don't do this, but in this scenario, they were kind enough to allow me to film them for my YouTube video. So I just went ahead and gave them pictures. The reason you don't see a lot of detail in this drawing is because they were so far away. I like to generally draw people that are closer to me, but in this case, I didn't see anyone that was closer to me that was as interesting as the way the setup looked with these people sitting at this table. The composition with the plants in the background and everything just kind of looked right to me, so I chose that particular scenario. This is a book of drawings that I created a while back. There's a link in the description where you could get one if you're interested. It's pretty old. You can see that it has dings on it. I've shown it to a lot of people and traveled with it a lot of places. But nevertheless, most of these drawings are people that did not know that I was drawing them, except for Ruth Smith. She was on the cover. I was actually training her in drawing, so she would draw me while I would draw her. This is a typical exercise that I do with a lot of my students. This was a girl who was on the bus. And I really like this drawing because of the curls in her hair, so I put it in the front of the book. I have a lot of these drawings. Most of these people were on buses, and this was one of my students. This lady was actually on the Muni bus. I remember doing this drawing. I was sitting directly across the bus from her. And these people were just riding the bus, just kind of minding their own business. And none of them really knew that I was drawing them. I didn't get busted drawing any of these people. And so I wanted to show you a couple specific drawings though. So this was a lady who was on the AC Transit in Oakland. When I first moved out to the Bay Area, I just rode the bus back and forth drawing people. And I did a close-up here because I wanted to show the details. This is one of my favorite drawings because of the hair. This lady was riding the bus system and I was sitting, I believe, maybe one seat away from her. So I wasn't very far from her. So the closer you are to a person, the more detail you could pick up. You could actually see the texture in the hair, the way that I captured this hair here. And then I also captured the moles in her face. I also captured the lines in the sweater. I believe it's called the rib in the sweater. Texture, and some of the book pages. In these drawings, I actually choose where I'm going to add detail. Some places I add high detail, some places I leave pretty bland. A perfect example is right here where you can see there's high detail in the face of the skin of this guy here. But then when it comes to the rest of the hat, I didn't draw any of the stitches in the hat or anything like that. I just kind of left that blank.
This was one of my colleagues when I worked at Oakland School for the Arts. She didn't know that I was drawing her at the time. I believe she was waiting to go up to give a presentation, if I remember correctly. But one thing I like about this drawing was the glasses. This was around the time that I was actually studying how to capture glasses and studying styles of glasses. So that way, when I draw them, I don't have to think about them that much. And I really like the texture in her hair, capturing these lines, the subtle lines. This is the drawing that I really wanted to highlight. I was riding the AC Transit bus and I was headed towards the Eastmont Transit Center in Oakland in San Francisco Bay Area. And this guy, the way the bus is set up is that, I was facing this way and the seats on the other side are facing towards you. Most buses, most trains, all the seats are facing forward. But in this one, we were actually faced towards each other, except he was like a seat over so that you could see that I was drawing him at an angle. So we were just riding and I was already drawing for hours that day. So I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could draw this guy, capture all the detail without him knowing. Now he did bust me. What happened was I think I got maybe about middle way through the drawing. And then he just kind of stared over at me. He said, "You drawing me?" And I was like, yeah. And then he said, "Yeah, I know how to draw. I actually draw in prison." I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "I just got out. I'm on my way home." I was like, "Cool." We actually turned out to have a really good conversation. And I finished my drawing while we were talking. And he actually really liked the drawing. He checked it out. He gave me all kind of props. He really liked the way I captured his tattoos, the way I captured the script, the handwriting in his tattoos. He had lots of tattoos, and I was really into just the way he looked in the grit and the energy that he exuded. So I wanted to try to capture that in a drawing. This was one of my students. Like I said, most people do not catch me drawing them, but the few that do, none of them felt any uncomfortability about it. They didn't think it was weird or anything like that. They actually thought it was cool. So I wanted to answer some questions. One of the questions is, how do you draw people without them knowing and feeling creepy? Well, the first thing I want to say is that I don't feel creepy when I do it. Side note, I remember drawing this guy. He was on AC Transit. We were headed towards Eastmont Transit Center again. I believe I was teaching out there at the time, so I was going out there every day, and I would always draw on my way to and from. And that was one of my ways of making up for the fact that they were low paying jobs at the time. But anyhow, I was studying how to draw how to draw hair. I was studying how to draw hair coming out of the skin and the patterns that the hair grows in as it comes out of the skin. So instead of coming straight, it comes out straight, and then over here it starts to curve around. So I found that very interesting, and also capturing eyelashes and eyebrows. I was really deep into hair as well as stitch. So I really like this drawing. This was one of my favorite. But to answer the question, I want to say that I never feel awkward or creepy when I'm drawing people because I'm just trying to improve my skills. I'm also in trying to meditate and enjoy myself and document the moment. I see it no different as if a person was taking a picture of a friend or themselves and they caught someone in the background, or the news cameras this was one of my students, or the news cameras when they're filming, they're out on location and they're capturing some footage, and there's all sorts of people in the background and they capture those people as well. Nothing creepy about that. The only difference is that I'm using a pen, they're using a video camera. So that's pretty much my answer to that one. So another question is, what do you do when you get busted? Like, what do you do when people notice that you're drawing them? I do one of two things. Sometimes I just show them, and entertain them and introduce myself and be a cool person and not weird. You know what I mean? Because people don't really care. They actually are flattered, or just they feel honored that you would pick them to draw them. Most of the time, the reason I don't tell people is not that I'm trying to be sneaky or anything. It's just that people start to pose, they start to keep staring at you. It just becomes an awkward scenario. And now you're not focused on drawing and enjoying yourself and trying to improve your skills and all these other things. Now you're more focused on the fact that this person knows that you're looking and you know that they're looking and la 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 la. So I just choose not to tell people. The other thing that I would do is sometimes is I will just start working on the background, because some people, once they notice that you're drawing them, they'll start posing or they'll start sitting in a certain way or they'll start doing things that they weren't doing before they noticed. And so I'll just start working on the background, or I'll work on other aspects of the picture. And, I may go back and finish them and I may not. It just depends. Another question is, how do I handle people watching me draw? So there's been a lot of times where I'm drawing on public transit, on the train or something like that, and one person is like, "Oh, look at that guy, he's drawing," and then another person starts looking, and then they might be telling their friend, but then someone who is sitting in front of them heard that, so then they turn around, and the next thing you know, one person comes standing over, and da 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 da. So what I do is I just keep focused on my drawing, and I try to pretend like I'm so into the drawing, like, please don't ask me any questions. But if they do, I just be cool. I'll just like, hey, how you doing? My name's Daoud, I'm drawing people. And they be like, how long you been doing it? I've been doing it since I was a little kid. And a lot of times I'll just stop the drawing, right? And then they might say something like, oh, I'm sorry to disturb you. I won't ask you any more questions. And then I'll go back to the drawing. But the reason why I stopped the drawing is not to be, mean or anything. It's because when I'm drawing, I'm fully in the moment and I have an emotional style of drawing. Like my whole body, my whole energy is into it when I'm doing it. So for me to hold a conversation, answering questions and things like that kind of pulls me out of that zone. Sometimes I'll just take a break from drawing and just answer the questions and be nice to the people, and then I'll kind of go back to the drawing. This lady was on the Muni train. I remember drawing her, and I just really love this drawing because it has so much life and so much animation. There's tons of mistakes though. So I'll show you like this mistake here, drawing this line. I drew this line over this way and I felt like the face was going to be too fat. So I just decided to stop that line there and come back in and create another line and go in a little closer. But this is one of my favorite drawings, and that's why I did a close-up of the face, because just the energy of that face, man, I feel like that face is going to come right up off the page. So another frequently asked question is it illegal to draw people without them knowing? And I would say, no, it's not illegal. If it were illegal, then you couldn't take pictures out in public and capture other people in the background. Another frequently asked question is, how do you draw someone? These were two of my students, two of my younger students that I was teaching an art class over in East Oakland. And they were like, hey, Mr. D, draw me. So I just kind of drew them there. But another question was, how do you draw someone that keeps moving? There's a couple different ways I would go about this. One is I may not finish that drawing. I might start off and just leave whatever I could pick up if the person is just moving a whole lot. Another is that I might do what I call Franken people. So Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein is he took a lot of different people, put them together into one person, right? Well, the Franken people concept is you start off drawing one person, and when that person moves or leaves, you just leave the drawing as is. And then when someone else comes back in a similar posture that last person, a similar pose, then you just complete that last drawing with that new person, right? So if I were to draw this girl's head and then she gets up off the bus, then the next person who sits down there, I'm going to start drawing their shoulders. And then they might get up, and then the next person might have a purse. And so I draw the purse on there, right? This person, I drew the full body as it was, but that would be the way that I would approach that. And the last question, what tools are really good for quick, stealthy sketches? I would say just draw with whatever you feel most comfortable with. As you saw in one of my latest videos, I drew with crayons, right? So you could draw with anything and make it look good. It's just about how comfortable you are with that particular medium.
If you're still watching at this point, hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.